Let's start off with one that's fairly recent and probably still fresh in the memories of people who have seen the 2017 movie Alien Covenant. The ninth full movie installment of the Alien franchise, which is over 4 decades old, doesn't exactly rank among the franchise's best, and a lot had to do with how it ended. Directed by Ridley Scott, the story follows the crew of the colony ship Covenant in 2014, bound for Origay 6, but derailed to a newly discovered and uncharted planet. What the crew hoped to be paradise was soon revealed to be anything but that. First, they didn't exactly discover the planet, but were lured to it by a human voice broadcast. A member of the crew, Walter, an artificial intelligence creature played by Michael Fassbender, gets to meet his predecessor, David, who looks exactly like him. Initially leading the few survivors of an ambush by bloodthirsty aliens and other members to believe he was looking out for them, it was soon revealed that David was actually responsible for all the death and monstrosity he seemed to be protecting them from. Slowly, but eventually, members of the crew get killed off by really creepy entities, which is the main theme of every movie in the franchise. By the time Walter and the few remaining colonists discovered the truth, it was a bit too late. David was on a crusade to completely annihilate humanity rather than help it find new habitats. A fight ensues between the heroes and the villain, and it appears the heroes won as they were rescued back to their ship. But here's the twist. The surviving humanoid who returned to the Covenant was in fact David, and not Walter. Before they could find this out, it was too late. David had taken over an entire ship, regurgitated 2 facehugger embryos, and was more equipped in his quest to end humanity than he was at the beginning of the movie. From the creepy monstrous figures flying all around the screen, impregnating and eating people up, this movie is utterly disgusting to the eyes. But seeing the good guys easily outsmarted and becoming helpless prey to the hands of the cold-hearted, expressionless villain makes it all the more disturbing. End of the day. Alien Covenant takes its viewers on a journey of enabling the villain and leaving him stronger than he would have been had the heroes stuck to their task and never engaged him. But this ending isn't the darkest we've seen in recent years. Not when you recall the damning conclusion of Scott Stewart's supernatural horror thriller, Dark Skies. Released in 2013, this movie starts off quite normal. The Barrett family of 4 living on a quiet suburban street in the US. A 2-parent household, 2 sons who love each other and enjoy a happy relationship. What could possibly go wrong? From untraceable paranormal events, each member of the family starts experiencing catatonic episodes and eventually spots figures looming over them while they sleep. Eventually, they hire a specialist, Edwin Pollard, who confirms the family's fear. They were being hunted by extraterrestrial figures called the Greys. Upon having their suspicions confirmed and being warned of the aliens' motive of abducting one of the 2 boys, the Barrett family take matters into their own hands and put up defenses against these aliens. But on the 4th of July, the final showdown takes place. They are once again visited by the Greys, a series of paranormal events occur, the kids have some really disturbing hallucinations, and eventually, one of the boys gets abducted without a trace. You're probably expecting the plot twist, right? Well, there is none, and that's what makes this story so disturbing and damning. The family gets some sort of warning against impending doom. They try their best to prepare for it, but when evil eventually comes, it prevails and they stand no chance despite their preparations. Essentially, it's a story that shows the main characters rendered completely helpless from the very first scene of the movie. Moving on with our list of fiction's darkest endings, let's check out Star Wars Episode 3: Revenge of the Sith. Star Wars fans who got to watch the franchise in real time could probably see it coming, but it still didn't make the tragic ending of the final installment any less heartbreaking. The events of Revenge of the Sith took place 3 years after the first Battle of Geonosis and the onset of the Clone Wars, so things were already heading in a downward spiral. This iconic movie followed the noble Jedi Knights of the Jedi Order leading a massive clone in preparations for a galaxy-wide battle against the Confederacy of Independent Systems. It started off with fan favorite Anakin Skywalker being on the right side of history, working with the Jedi, but gradually, as the movie unfolds, viewers see him slowly but eventually turn away from the fight. For anyone who loves the franchise, it was hard enough seeing anger and fear gradually turn Anakin, but that ended up being the least of the evils that would ensue. As the Jedi prepare for battle, it's revealed that the Supreme Chancellor of the Galactic Republic is actually a Sith Lord, and his only intention is to conquer the entire galaxy and expand the Republic into a galactic empire. As the moment of reckoning approaches and the Jedi are most in need of their war hero, Anakin is seduced by the dark side of the forces to become Darth Sidious's new apprentice, Darth Vader. Viewers then have to watch the soul-crushing duel between Anakin and Obi-Wan on the volcanic planet Mustafar. And although Obi-Wan wins and Anakin suffers some severe burns, it's hardly any consolation seeing your favorite hero turn bad. To make matters worse, Padme dies on Naboo in labor as she gives birth to Anakin's children, Luke and Leia. By the end of the movie, the Emperor Palpatine oversees the construction of the Death Star, which is a symbol of the Empire's rise and dominance. Obi-Wan and Yoda are forced to go into exile, and the entire Jedi Order is all but wiped out. So yeah, it's pretty much a tragedy everywhere. And if you're wondering how the writers were able to successfully make one of the darkest conclusions to a fictional piece, it's because they had 25 years to improve on a very similar storyline. We're talking about The Empire Strikes Back from 1980, directed by Irvin Kershner. This movie was the second installment in the original Star Wars trilogy, and it was set years after the events of Revenge of the Sith. By this time, the Death Star had been destroyed, and the Imperial fleet, led by Darth Vader, were spread around the galaxy with probe droids in search of the Rebel Alliance. The story focuses on Luke Skywalker, who just begins to get his training as a Jedi Knight under the Jedi Master Yoda on a swamp planet. As he continues his journey, he meets Han Solo and a bunch of other people on the right side of the Force. Han, Luke's sister Princess Leia, C-3PO, and Chewbacca get attacked by the Empire and escape on a ship, but eventually get captured by Vader. All the while, Luke is in training with Yoda, who initially refused to train him. At the time, the young Skywalker Jedi has to deal with some of his flaws like his anger, impulsiveness, and failure to understand what the power of the Force really is. As he gradually makes progress in his training, Luke is alerted of his sister and friend's predicament, and in his hero complex, decides to abandon his training to save them. By the time he gets to confront Vader, it's a little too late. Han Solo has been frozen in carbonite, and in the ensuing fight with Vader, Luke loses an arm. He then finds out Darth Vader is actually his father and is only able to narrowly escape capture with his sister. And that's pretty much it. No scene of the hero riding away into the sunset. No sign of hope except the fact that Luke is actually still alive. It's all straightforward and bleak. Evil triumphs, and the heroes end the movie significantly weaker than they started it. And all we can do is watch. Up next, let's take a quick look at the one comic story that fits our description perfectly, Watchmen. When Alan Moore and Dave Gibbons made the Watchmen universe, it was unlike any other superhero universe before. Instead of having heroes just fly around in spandex and capes, saving the day and flying into the skies, this universe showed the repercussions of their actions and inactions. Superheroes had been outlawed by the government, but when one of them gets murdered, a group of retired superheroes take up the responsibility of finding out the truth about his murder. This investigation reveals the involvement of a man called Adrian Veidt, also known as Ozymandias. Adrian was the villain of this universe, and his most cogent superpower was his intelligence. He had grown up in the 1940s as the son of a wealthy German immigrant, and actually started out as a superhero fighting against organized crime in the United States. However, even as one of the good guys, Veidt believed the only way to save the world is to unite it against a common enemy, and in the absence of such an enemy, he was determined to create one. With the help of other heroes and experts in specific scientific fields, he successfully created a horrific alien invasion and framed one of the main good guys, Dr. Manhattan, forcing him into exile. The death of the comedian led to the superhero community discovering Veidt's plan, but in this universe, they couldn't stop the impending doom or save the day. So Veidt's scheme succeeds. There's a fake alien invasion that leads to the deaths of over 3 million people in New York City. To make matters worse, the good guys are unable to tell global authorities the truth about the invasion, so as to avoid throwing the world into a full-blown outrage and eventually war. Dr. Manhattan even ends up murdering a fellow superhero who refused to stay silent about Veidt's actions. Essentially, in this universe, not only does the villain win, but he doesn't even recognize that he's the villain. His actions end up corrupting the good guys, leaving readers with a dark and twisted conclusion of who's really good or bad.